So early intervention cuts across, you are needing to just give support. Children born with, additional needs. So some of these needs are visible, some are not.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Special Moms Africa, the podcast. Real talk on special needs parenting. I'm Toye Falogi Ekezie and I'm in the studio with the sensual mama, Obafe Ikemi. Lady of the Whispers. Yes, and today we are back again once more on the topic of Down syndrome and early intervention. Taken from the definition in the children's book, Ugo and Sim Sim, What is Down syndrome? Down syndrome is also called trisomy 21. It is a condition where a baby is born with an extra copy of chromosome 21. Down syndrome can affect how a child develops, and a common characteristic is upward slanted eyes. MDSF.org says early intervention is a systemic program of therapy, exercises, and activities designed to address developmental delays that may be experienced by children with Down syndrome or other disabilities. Early intervention services are used with the goal of enhancing the development of infants and toddlers and helping families understand and meet the needs of their children. The most common early intervention services for babies with Down syndrome are physical therapy, speech and language therapy, and occupational therapy. So with that said, it's now time to meet our guest. But hold on! Before that, we've got to take a quick break. I'm Toye Falogi Ekezie. If you're enjoying this episode of Special Moms Africa, brought to you by Simone's Oasis and Africa Business Radio, then why not listen to our other podcast, Represented, Storybooks and More for African Kids. Now, don't forget to subscribe, put on your notifications, and share with loads of people out there. Thanks for listening. Welcome back, our dear listeners. And today our guest is the wonderful Tola Makinde, and she is the founder and executive director of Mo Rainbow Down Syndrome Foundation, the first early intervention center for babies with Down syndrome in Nigeria, and leads her team in fulfilling its mission of making each day better than the last for affected persons and their families. She creates exciting person-centered educational and therapeutic interventions, vocational and self-advocacy programs for learners with Down syndrome, and additional support needs. Tola's birth to Moyin with Down syndrome changed the life of her entire family back in 2011. Deeply concerned about Moyin's development, she gave up her 11-year high-flying banking career. Wow. She is an advocate for early intervention, inclusion and education of persons with intellectual disabilities in grassroots communities and the general public in Nigeria and across the world. Welcome, Tola. We are so privileged to have you here.
Welcome. Thank you, ladies.
So let's dive right in. You are such a heavyweight in this field. So we want to ask you, in your own words, what exactly is early intervention?
Wow. Thank you so much for having me, ladies. Early intervention.
Yeah, and why is it so important for children with Down syndrome?
Okay, yeah. Early intervention, you've touched on some parts of what early intervention is, and then it's obvious that when we say early intervention, we're saying that what you need to do early on time, start early, it's just about everything early, being done early. And then most importantly, because there is a challenge that has been identified or a need that has been identified at the birth of a child with or without Down syndrome. So early intervention cuts across, you are needing to just give support to children born with, additional needs. So some of these needs are visible, some are not. So early intervention, let me take you back to how I got to know about this, I was exposed to a child with Down syndrome, and then that was in 2007, I think, somewhere in the US. But the child then was even 4 years old, and I noticed something about his intervention being born with Down syndrome. That was 7 years before I had my daughter. And we had therapists come in, speech therapists, all people in the fields, showed support in. And then, they were coming back to back, trying to support him. And I was just watching everything. Because at the end of the day, 7 years after, when I had more, after I had surgery, I had to take her back. Same house, same state, same place. And then I came into early intervention. And then it hit me that everything I needed to do was just to begin to stimulate her, support her. I'm not saying, because, in the hospital you would, I've heard reports like from doctors saying she won't be able to do this.
Oh,
she
yes.
won't be able to do that. She will not walk on time. She may not be able to, and those are just the worst case scenarios because you can't really place all of those, won't be able to do all those, negative comments on a child without trying. So early intervention gives you the opportunity to try first. It gives you the opportunity to, enhance the child's development, gives you the opportunity to give the child a chance, to try what people or whoever has said or placed a judgment on the child that the child wouldn't be able to. And then early intervention starts from birth. And that was the part that, for me. And from birth means that the baby is born, a newborn baby, and then you can see all of the shortcomings. And then there are strategies you go about supporting this child using early intervention.
Wow. So, there's something you said in that early intervention gives the child a chance. And that is really all we are trying to do when we talk about early intervention or when we talk about meeting a child's needs, is that these tools and programs that are used in early intervention are all about giving that child the best chance they have to reach their full potential, which will assist them, which will make their quality of life better in the long term and as they get older. So with that, you had your beautiful daughter, Moyin, who is just a wonderful young lady. And you were going through this. Thank God you were exposed to a child before you even knew you were going to have a child with Down syndrome, which kind of puts you an advantage, I think, because you had a conceptualization that most people don't. But when you got the news, even with that, how was it? How was it when you received the diagnosis?
I was heartbroken. I cried every day. I would lock myself in the room with her and just cry. And then I promised myself I'll not let her see my tears. But then I would just cry and cry. But then one thing I knew I did was I started early. So like, I think about 2 months old, I just, one of my friends called me from the US and said, it's okay to cry, but then if you have too much tears in your eyes, you won't be able to see, to know what to do, So, of course, I would cry and then I would clean my tears, and then I started to swaddle her as a baby. And then I learned all of the tricks of early intervention, and all of those things I did repeatedly because early intervention needs reinforcement. It needs repetition. So from when she was 2 months old, I started engaging her. We were doing a lot of activities together, all under early intervention, and there was a purpose for all of that. So it was more intentional, like intentionally trying to, some of these things, funny enough, like things we do with babies, but then it's called play. But this in this scenario, like in this context, we know that we're not just playing. We're trying to help the baby develop, how to move her eyes, because definitely with Down syndrome, there's so many medical conditions coexisting with having Down syndrome, and then you have to look out for all of that as well, just to rule them out or just to help the child to outgrow some of them. And then the low tone muscles. So we were doing a lot of swaddling as a baby, And, Nigeria, it was very hot. I mean, it's usually very hot in Nigeria, but then we'll still swaddle and then, just to get the muscles working, kind of like, sometimes you don't even want to believe in what you're doing because they're more like activities, and then they're like, they're like programs that you have to continue to do with the child. And then we started doing all of that. And then, of course, I was doing a lot of facial, oral, motor exercises. We're doing a lot with water. And some of these things, I was just trying my hands on all of those things, at home by myself, locked up in the room, depressed, Some days I wouldn't even eat, but then I wanted my child to, conquer all of those challenges. There were days I wished that the slanted eyes, those are pretty eyes, almond-shaped eyes, would just go away. There were days I was even praying that God, by the time I wake up, I believe so much in you, God, just change her face. Let her not look like a child that has Down syndrome.
Wow.
And my prayers were not answered. Instead I came down with a horrible blood pressure. I was hallucinating. I was sick. I think I was just afraid of what people would say.
Yeah.
And of course, people commented. People started talking when I started taking her out. People said a lot of things, you understand? So, but then we were able to move past that. And then for me, I had to to get more quality, support. And then I learned how to care for a baby with Down syndrome, taking her back to the US when she clocked 1 after her heart surgery. So I met with professionals, and then I didn't even know what I was doing, but I knew that I was videoing them. I was recording all the sessions. I was asking questions. They were explaining stuff to me. There were some shoe braces they gave her. She was just crawling yet, not walking, but they gave us some therapy shoes already, like some insoles, some AFOs, all of those stuff. I came back with a knee brace, a brace that she would wear from her knee to the, that would take her from the back of her knee down to that would cover the sole of her feet. And then I would insert that into her sneakers and wear for her every day. And then I came back with what you call the hip helper. And when I came back, people were looking like strangely, what has gone wrong? Why are you decking this child with all of this hip helper, doing this? The other time, when I was swaddling and doing different stuff with her, my mom too was so concerned, saying she does not have Down syndrome in Jesus' name. I'm like, Mommy, she has Down syndrome. She'll be fine, But then what am I trying to say? I accepted it. It wasn't easy. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but then what I tried to do was just move forward from that position, because it felt like I was in a stagnant position.
Yeah,
like
you were
my
trapped.
whole world crumbled. Yes, my career ended, came to a halt. Like even when I was going to be promoted as a branch operations manager, everything just stopped for me. Like everything just literally stopped for me. So I was so devastated. I was so frustrated. In fact, I can't even, I think God has actually used more Rainbow to kind of, put me on my healing journey.
Yes.
Like get me, I really, honestly, I'm grateful for this opportunity, because she has now become, and that's what I tell parents, that this child will always come back to be, a joy to you, irrespective of what the child can do, irrespective of what diagnosis the child has. And then I think this has really helped me as well, to be able to babies. So I came back so passionate about babies, and I started seeing a lot of them around.
Suddenly, right?
Children. Yes,
you
like
took notice.
You want a red card. Yeah. That means I wasn't observant. I wasn't looking before, because I wasn't. It wasn't my business. It was my business. It was like a mind your business thing. I was minding my business, but now my business is now everybody's business.
Yes,
everybody's business is now my business, and I think that's how the world should be. Like, look out for each other and connect with people that are going through. You'll be able to support them better, because people are going through emotional trauma. I wasn't even myself. I'm still on BP medication. For the past 11 years, it's not been easy.
But
yes,
we are here, and I'm just so grateful for you sharing that, because I think our listeners, we ourselves even can identify with everything you said. And even in that state that you still said, I'm still going to focus on this child. I'm not going to dwell on my anger, resentment, whatever, you have depression. yes, I have that, but I still need to, you still had the wherewithal to still put your mind to help your child. And then go beyond that and start a foundation to help others, taking what you have learned and continue to learn, because I know you're never satisfied, and you continue to learn and you'll continue to share. So much so, listeners, that she created something that is just awesome. The Mo Early Intervention Kits. Can you quickly just tell us exactly what your kits are about, where they can be found? Because you have made it so easy now for parents to get the tools and be able to utilize them at home.
Exactly, Toya. So I was thinking, and when the calls started coming in, oh, we have a new baby with Down syndrome, and the calls were coming in from different parts of Nigeria, and I was happy that people can already embrace it or talk about it, because people wouldn't want to talk about it the first 3 years, trust me, and the child would and they will keep living in denial. For me, I cannot say it was okay for me. Like, I lived in denial, but it was for a short time, and the shorter the better you live in denial, so that you can begin to launch forward, like start the journey. It looks like a very long, curvy, difficult journey, but then you must start with one step. And then I realized that so many things that helped my daughter. There was some knick-knack stuff I used to buy when I traveled. Then my husband would just be having me, what's all this fancy? What was all this? I'm like, this is a makeshift stuff. Don't worry. I can use this as this to do this, It will just be like, And for me, I know where I'm coming from. Like, I have just stopped working like a 6-figure beautiful. I had a very wonderful salary in 2011. Imagine, and I had never gone back to work. So this man should not just come and stop me. So I'll just be buying all the stuff and buying, and then I would be using it. Even when I came back then, and my daughter had the physiotherapist that used to come home, I'll buy books, I'll buy different stuff. She would be like, I've not seen this type before. You don't have this. I will now teach her again how he said we should use it. Speech therapist to come. I will show her books. This is for Down syndrome. Oh, they have a different profile. Oh, blah, 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 blah. I will just like that. And then one day, I was tired of all the calls. I'm like, how are we going to reach this baby? So I cannot. And then I used to do home visitations. Remember, I will go, they call me Oro and Shoki, I will go, we put in meta. I'm like, I cannot go to 50 homes. And I was already going to 3 homes every week then, back in 2014. So I think it was 2019, I said, come on, we should be able to do something with these people, like empower them. Parents, as long as you can accept that this is what my child is going through, and then there's something, the kit is for any child. It doesn't have to be
child,
that my child. Yes.
It can be for neurotypical children, all children, it works.
Children, yes. It works for early education, early sensory development, early, tactile development, oral, different things. The child, if it's a baby, all you need to do is just be creative around the kids. And I loved what you did with the kids. Remember when you supported and bought 2 samples and gifted it, and I think you gifted it to a family in Kaduna. One was part of, and then they came back with amazing feedbacks. And then there's a WhatsApp group for children with parents of children with Down syndrome, and I know that a lot of people would say it doesn't matter. And then I know the challenges with the kits. The challenges with the kits is that it's expensive for everybody to be able to afford. And then we're going to do something about that very soon. But then the kit has different things that can help to improve your child's fine motor skills, oral motor skills, tactile development, sensory development, identification of numbers.
Speech colors, and language. I mean, it's everything.
Yes. And then people think that children with Down syndrome will not be able to learn. That it is also trying to change their mindset that, if any child can use this kit, or if children with intellectual disabilities can actually make use of this kit, then any child can learn. It's just trying to change that notion that, perception that our children cannot go to school, or our children may not be able to get an education. I mean, how did you start your education? You started by learning kindergarten, right? 1, 2, 3 colors, then you sing and everything. And while working with the kids, you can also sing about colors, do matching. There's so many things about those kids, Toya.
I do, so and I love them.
We're trying. Yeah.
And I'm like Tola, I'm like you in that anything I can see, I'm like, oh, I can use it. I can use this. I can use that. So it's also kind of putting that mindset into parents to say, you don't have to go and purchase the world. You may have a lot of, and in fact, every household, you have some things already in your house that you can convert and use. It's just about to open your mind to it and understanding you can use so many things to just help your child. But we are conscious of the time, Tola. So we are at the point of the program where we're going to put you on the spot. And it's called Honest Truth. And in 1 minute, we ask you to please share with us something you've thought of during the journey, but you've never said out loud. And don't let Obafemi Kemi scare you.
Something I thought of during the journey, I never said. It's not negative, it was just a fear. I can say it, right? I'm like, God, don't let this child die. She looks like she's about to die, but don't let her die, please. I never said it out.
This was during the heart, when you was having the heart surgery time, or previously?
Heart surgery time, when she had sleep apnea. And then she had a terrible, and she went into surgery, and the doctors came out 45 minutes after saying they have to abort the surgery. They couldn't go on with the surgery. That was in 2018. And then they wheeled her out from the theater. She was looking like she was going, like, I'm like, God, don't let her die. I never said it out because people like, don't you have faith, Ordinarily, that my daughter has Down syndrome. And someone had told me before that, don't I have faith? Don't I have faith that she will be healed? I'm like, she's not sick. Like, don't I have faith? And then the third time she went into the theater was in South Africa, 2019. I don't know why I was a bit at rest that, okay, they will not show a killer in this. This is not Nigeria. But I was wrong. But I just thank God that, she was able to take it all in, and she keeps giving me that strength. In fact, I'm not even strong compared to my daughter.
Yeah. No, I get what Tola is saying, because I do the same things, right? In that, I'm just feeling defeated, but I'm like, wait, Simone is still gung-ho. How can I be defeated? Let me stand up and respect myself. Do you know? So I can completely tap into that. No, because it's, in fact, it's the children that give us the strength. It's the children.
This adenoid thing dealt with her seriously, and you know what that does? It reduces the level of oxygen that carries blood to the brain, and then tells the brain to wake up. So we're dealing with OCD, dealing with night wakes, dealing with sleep apnea, dealing with some maybe behavioral challenges as well, And I think the adenoids have grown back, and that's the sad part. Yeah, she's just I can't even explain or express. I don't even know. I don't know which words to qualify her right now, because
I'm laughing because I can see her in my head. That's why I'm laughing.
Yes.
She's amazing.
Winning,
she's a wonder.
Just to be winning and be winning, and she was born a winner. And maybe I don't know why I'm the one that is confused now.
Don't be confused. She is a winner. She is blessed, and she is special. And with that, we are out of time. Thank you so much, Tola, for the privilege of sharing your experience with us. Can you let our listeners know where to find you on social media?
On Instagram, my name is Talk2. 2 is the digit 2. Talk2 Tola Makinde. On Facebook and Tola Makinde. Then I think the organization is Moyin_Down syndrome. And on Instagram, and that's Instagram, right? And for the kids, we have Mo Early Intervention Kits. On Instagram as well.
Mo Early Intervention Kits on Instagram. Please follow. Those kits are genius. So thank you once again. Thank you to my co-host today, the sensual mama, Obafemi Kemi Luther. I have been your host, Toye Falogi Ekezie. And yes, let me not forget, Ekezie. And we'll catch you next time on another episode of our podcast, Special Moms Africa, Real Talk on Special Needs Parenting. Till then, bye-bye.
Bye.
For sponsorship inquiries, you can DM us at Simone's Oasis on social media or send an email to hello@simones-oasis.com.